recently Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, has given a little speech, and in it he expressed some very interesting views in regards to people's ability to freely express themselves to the rest of society.
At Apple, we believe that technology needs to have a clear point of view on this challenge. There is no time to get tied up in knots. That's why we only have one message for those who seek to push hate, division, and violence. You have no place on our platforms.
Here's the thing. Think of it as levels. There's different levels. And on the top level, you have the principle of the matter. The principle is free speech. You support free speech on principle across the board. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with what is being said. On principle, you agree with their ability to express those ideas regardless of how unpopular those ideas could be. Now, of course, there can be outliers to that principle, meaning you're not allowed to express direct threats of violence, other smaller things like plagiarism and libel and, things like that. But besides those outliers, on principle, you're supposed to support free speech, the ability for people to express themselves freely and openly. Now, what has happened is people like Tim Cook have helped to lower the bar. They brought it down a level. And the next level is KKK and actual true haters, people who are actually legitimately racist and sexist, and groups of actual terrible people like ISIS. Really fucking bad. I'm not saying that all these groups are equal to one another, but just I'm putting them all in a category of true, objectively shitty groups. So they lowered it to that, and they say, look, those people are just objectively terrible. You can agree that ISIS is bad, duh. So they should not have the right to express themselves. And the KKK, they're not as bad as ISIS, but they suck too. So they also should not have the ability to express themselves. And people said, okay, well, yeah, you got me, those groups do suck. Objectively, they're bad. So, who does it really hurt besides them if they can't express themselves? If anything, it will help people, make society better. Okay, but here's the problem though. Once you start lowering the bar or moving from one level to another, it's kind of hard to stop it. It just kind of keeps going. And so the next level down is haters. Not, oh, I'm a hardcore racist and I hate all black people specifically because they're black and I'm totally open about it. Not that kind of hater, but just hater in general. Like, it's up to interpretation. Well, maybe you're an actual hater who's a shitty person, someone who's trying to make the lives of others miserable, and that is your intent, to cause misery and pain. But maybe you're not that. Maybe you're just someone we disagree with politically. And that's reason enough for me to label you as a hater. So maybe you too should be banned. So the bar just keeps getting lower and lower. Now look, some issues are very principled matters, while others are not at all. This issue is a principled matter. It is important to be principled in the regards of free speech. Now, I do have to point out, of course, that Apple is a private corporation, and if they choose to use their platform to discriminate against a large group of people in order to silence them, then as a corporation, they have the right to do this. There is a big difference between the government doing it and a corporation doing it in regards to the Constitution. Now, maybe the rules should be changed in order to fix that problem. I don't know. It's certainly worth debating. But as it stands, as a corporation, they have that right. I don't think that's right, but they have that right. But on principle, you should support free speech, even if it's not the government infringing upon that right.
You have no home here. From the earliest days of iTunes to Apple Music today, we have always prohibited music with a message of white supremacy.
Since the launch of those things, they have been saying, well, if you're an actual white supremacist, we're going to deplatform you. But that's the thing. That's how they move the bar. They use actual objectively terrible people that you already hate and say, well, who gives a shit if those people are deplatformed? But that's the problem. Once you move the bar from a principled stance to a, well, I really don't like those fucking guys, so maybe they shouldn't have a platform. Once you do that, once you make that transition, then it just keeps moving. All the way to the point where you could be fucking deplatformed because you don't think in a very particular kind of way. Now, we're not there with all things in regards to communication, but we are on that path.
Why? Because it's the right thing to do. And as we showed this year, we won't give a platform to violent conspiracy theorists on the App Store.
He is referring to Alex Jones. Here is Tim Cook describing Alex Jones as a violent person.
We won't give a platform to violent conspiracy theorists on the App Store.
I, Tim Cook, CEO, believe that this man is violent. It wasn't proven to me, but I think he's violent, and that's good enough. So deplatform him. Totally fuck over all of his listeners. Use our platform to make it more difficult for our consumers. Because it's the right thing to do. I'm sorry, Tim, but I did not know that there was some sort of objective truth to morality on this level.
Why? Because it's the right thing to do.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
My friends, if we can't be clear on moral questions like these, then we've got big problems.
No, incorrect. If we can't be clear on moral questions in regards to murder, then we got big problems. If we can't be clear on moral questions like rape, then we got problems. But the moral question on whether you should infringe upon a person's right to express themselves freely because they say things that you disagree with, the fact that you want to deplatform people is the problem. I want to live in an open and free society. In order for me to do that, then people that I firmly disagree with also has to have the ability to express themselves freely. How am I supposed to change the mind of anyone if I don't clearly understand their positions? There are reasons why everyone thinks in the way that they do. For me to change their mind in any meaningful way, I will need to know how they operate, why they think the way that they do, why do they come to the conclusions that they do. Step by step, I need to understand them. The more I understand them and their positions and why they come to the conclusions that they do, the better off of a chance I have in changing their mind or changing people who are more on the fence about it. I cannot counteract someone's argument if I do not know their argument. When you push people underground, you prevent me from understanding clearly what they are saying and why they are saying it. It's a slippery slope, and we keep getting further and further down the hill. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I will continue to say it. On principle, we should support free speech regardless of how unpopular that speech is, no matter how much you disagree with it. On principle, you should support that person's ability to express themselves openly and freely.
At Apple, we are not afraid to say that our values drive our curation decisions. And why should we be?
So apparently the values at Apple is fucking over people because they think and express themselves in manners that go against the will of Apple.
Doing what's right, creating experiences free from violence and hate, experiences that empower creativity and new ideas, is what our customers want us to do. Technology should be about human potential. It should be about optimism. And we believe the future should belong to those who use technology to build a better, more inclusive, and more hopeful world.
There may be some minor and temporary abridgments in the traditionally protected areas of speech and association, but only until this crisis is over. We have been betrayed on nearly every level. And it is going to take the efforts of every loyal citizen to keep Earth safe and ideologically pure.
Well, goddamn. I mean, when I grew up, I was told that the future belonged to everybody. Unless they're not like us. Like, what the fuck? Doesn't the future belong to everyone? Is everyone in the future mindless zombies that all think alike? Is that how you envision the future, Tim Cook? Because no matter how much of a utopian society I can envision the future as, I always see humanity being part of it. You know, I mean, isn't that the future? Where we all get to be a part of it, regardless of what our opinions are?
Our morality, our own innate desire to separate right from wrong, choosing to set that responsibility aside at a moment of trial is a sin.
Not deplatforming people when they express their views that you disagree with is a sin. It goes against his religious beliefs. And because he is all-powerful within Apple, he can deplatform you. Of course, when he retires or goes away, and someone else takes his place, well, I guess they're going to deplatform people based on that new person's perspective, and how they view morality, and how they would like to implement their religious beliefs.
We as individuals have the power to know and feel and act, and we ought to use it.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the information purification directives we have created for the first time in all history. A garden of pure ideology where each worker may bloom, secure from the pests, obeying contradictory reports. Our unification of thoughts is more powerful a weapon than any fleet or army on earth. We are one people, with one will, one resolve, one cause. Our enemies shall talk themselves to death, and we will bury them with their own confusion. We shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.